It's a real story. Title: I spent one night in a haunted castle, and you'll never believe what happened. Hey everyone, gather around because I've got a terrifying tale to share that has been haunting me ever since that fateful night. It involves whispers in the dark, shadowy figures, and a castle that seemed to breathe with history. This isn't just any castle. It's the legendary Bran Castle in Romania, often called Dracula's Castle. With its jagged peaks and an air of foreboding, it's said to be home to all sorts of supernatural happenings. Little did I know, I was about to face a night I would never forget. Ever since I was a kid, I had always been fascinated by ghosts, legends, and spooky stories. The idea of exploring an ancient castle steeped in mystery fired up my adventurous spirit like nothing else. So, when my friends and I decided to embark on an unforgettable trip to Romania, Bran Castle was at the top of our list. I managed to convince Jake, the thrill-seeker of our group, Lisa, the skeptic, and Sarah, who loved anything with an element of mystery. Each of us brought our own motivations, but you best believe we were ready for adventure. The day we arrived, winter had draped her icy fingers over everything, dusting the ancient stone walls in sparkling white. We parked our rental car a short distance from the castle, and as we approached, the air turned chilly, not just from the cold, but from an overwhelming sense of something lurking just out of sight. The castle loomed over us, and I felt it pulse with energy, the kind that sends shivers down your spine. There were several tourists milling around, but the moment I stepped through the massive wooden gates, I felt as if we had crossed into another world. Stepping inside, the castle was a labyrinth of dimly lit corridors, narrow staircases, and cramped rooms filled with dusty artifacts. Each artifact told a story of its own, from suits of armor to portraits of faces that had long since forgotten their names. As we wandered deeper, the air thickened with history, pressing down on us like a heavy fog. Lisa, feeling uneasy, suggested we follow a guided tour, but Jake and I were eager to explore uncharted territory. Come on, let's break away from the group, Jake said, his eyes glinting with mischief. Sarah and Lisa shared a reluctant glance, but eventually agreed to stick with us. After all, how could one miss out on the adventure of a lifetime? The first few hours were filled with laughter and awe as we roamed through the castle's many rooms. We marveled at the grand halls filled with antique furniture and the dark secrets they held. However, as we made our way toward the eastern wing, an inexplicable chill enveloped us. The atmosphere shifted, and a deep silence fell over us like a shroud. "Do you feel that?" Sarah whispered, her voice barely a tremor above the silence. "It's like the air just changed." I nodded, understanding her hesitation. It felt as if we were being watched, scrutinized by unseen eyes. Ignoring the nagging sensation, we pressed on, stepping into a narrow corridor lined with dusty portraits of long-dead nobility. The eyes in the portraits seemed to follow us, sending a shiver of unease down my spine. Each step echoed eerily, amplifying the silence. It was as if the walls were alive, whispering secrets that had been trapped here for centuries. In one of the rooms, we found an old ledger lying open on a desk. Flipping through the yellowed pages, we saw notes from visitors who had come before us, recording their experiences. I heard whispers in the night. One entry read, "Something tugged at my clothes." As I walked through the hallway, I exchanged nervous glances with my friends. "We should definitely keep exploring," Jake urged, beaming with excitement. "This place is full of stories." Lisa hesitated but finally locked eyes with Sarah, both seemingly daring each other to stay the course. We soon stumbled upon a narrow staircase that spiraled upward into darkness. "This way," Jake shouted, bounding up the steps before I could voice my uncertainty. Following closely behind, I felt the temperature drop even further. The worn stone steps felt damp beneath my palms as I gripped the railing for support. After a long climb, we reached a small attic room filled with dusty artifacts. The atmosphere in this room was thick with a palpable energy, and I could feel it swirling around us. A feeling crept over me. This wasn't just an abandoned storage space. Something significant had happened. Here, an old, cracked mirror hung crookedly on one wall, its surface marred by age. I found myself drawn to it, peering into the glass, half expecting to glimpse a dark figure lurking behind me. Hey, check this out, Jake called, standing in front of an ornate wooden chest tucked in the corner. Excitement radiated from him as he knelt to open it. Inside lay what appeared to be an old diary, bound in worn leather. He held it up triumphantly, flipping it open. The pages were filled with elegant cursive, detailing the castle's history and its inhabitants' lives. Look, he said. This entry talks about strange occurrences, ghostly whispers, shadows moving. Without a source. The irony of his enthusiasm pierced through the heavy atmosphere. Lisa rolled her eyes, dismissing it as just another old legend. But I felt a knot of dread tightening in my stomach. The castle felt like it was awakening, and something mighty and ancient lingered just beyond our sight. As the sun dipped below the horizon, shadows cast eerie shapes across the room. There was an unsettling energy in the attic, one that sent chills racing down my spine. I stepped cautiously around the old furniture, but just as I turned to say something to the group, I felt a rush of wind sweep through the room, despite the fact that the window was closed. The diary slipped from Jake's hands and landed with a soft thud. Did you guys feel that? I exclaimed wide-eyed. It was like a breath of air rushing by. Everyone excused my words and laughed it off, but as they did, I could see a flicker of fear flash in their eyes. We lingered in the darkened room a bit longer, exchanging nervous chatter that barely masked our apprehension. Suddenly, there was a loud bang echoing from below. My heart raced as Lisa screamed, startled by the noise. What was that? She gasped. There was a palpable tension in the air. Had someone else been exploring? Or was it something else? We decided we had enough of exploring for now and hurried back down the stairs. As we descended into the shadows below, the lights flickered ominously. I had a growing gut feeling that the castle had been home to much darker stories than we could fathom. When we reached the main hallway, we noticed that the other tourists had vacated, leaving us alone in the creepy silence. Sarah's voice trembled as she suggested we head outside for fresh air. We shouldn't be in here alone, she insisted. Nodding, we made our way toward the exit, but paused when a sudden chill swept through the corridor, nearly freezing us in place. It was then that we heard it, a soft, sorrowful whisper echoing through the hall. I turned to see Jake freeze, staring down the now dark corridor. Did you hear that? He breathed. What if it was just the wind? Lisa attempted to downplay it, but even she couldn't hide the tremor in her voice. Or something more. Jake shot back, his excitement mixed with fear. He suggested we check it out. Uneasy but unable to resist, we followed him down the hall into the dim abyss. The walls seemed to pulsate, and the air grew heavier. My breaths felt shallow, and I could hear my heartbeat pound in my ears. The whisper echoed again, this time more pronounced, wrapping around us like a vine. Help me, it pleaded, trembling like a leaf in the wind. The sound sent chills coursing through me, prompting my instinct to flee, but curiosity held me firmly in place. We hesitated at the threshold of a darkened hallway. This is silly, we should leave. Lisa exclaimed. Can't you feel it? But Jake, ever the thrill-seeker, stepped forward, drawn toward the darkness like a moth to a flame. Adrenaline coursed through me, compounding my uncertainty and fear. As we crept down the hall, the faint glimmer of candlelight flickered in the distance. Each step felt like a descent into an abyss, the atmosphere thick with suspense. Suddenly, the air felt electric, pulsing with an otherworldly energy. The whispering grew louder, forming indecipherable phrases that clawed at my sanity. Get out. You shouldn't be here, it seemed to scream. A series of loud bangs erupted from behind us. Panicked, we turned to see a door slammed shut as if propelled by an unseen force. Run, Sarah shouted, anxiety spiraling through her voice. We sprinted down the corridor, hearts racing, urgency driving our actions. The anticipation of the unknown fueled our flight, and when we reached the outside courtyard, we paused to catch our breath, gripping each other's shoulders with wild eyes. The silence of the courtyard enveloped us, stark compared to the cacophony inside. But even there, we felt the world around us shift uneasily. The moonlight bathed the castle in an ethereal glow, its towering structure looming ominously against the winter sky. It felt both beautiful and terrifying. We huddled together, whispering breathlessly about what had just happened. "What do we do now?" Lisa asked, her voice still shaky. I could see fear etched across her features. "Let's just find a place to collect ourselves," I suggested. We decided to set up camp in one of the castle's gardens, illuminated by soft moonlight. Sitting against the cold stone wall, we shared stories, each trying to grip the reality of what we had just experienced. Despite the fear gnawing at me, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something unresolved, that the voices we heard were significant. After a few moments of quiet reflection, Jake stood up. "I can't shake the feeling that we need to go back in," he announced, his determination palpable. "There's something in there, and it's trying to communicate with us." I exchanged apprehensive glances with Sarah and Lisa, but the intrigue overshadowed my fear. "Okay." I finally relented, my voice barely above a whisper. "But we stick together. No splitting up." They nodded in agreement, and together, we headed back inside the castle. The moment we crossed the threshold, the oppressive atmosphere swallowed us once more. The darkness felt alive, adding an intensity to the air. We made our way back to the room, where we had heard the whispers, hearts pounding in unison. As we entered, every sound echoed around us, magnified tenfold. It was unsettling. We gathered ourselves in a circle, and Jake took a deep breath. "If anyone is here, we want to hear your story." His voice was calm yet commanding. In response, a gust of wind whipped through the room as if filling it with a rush of energy. The temperature dropped further, and our breath became visible in the chill. The whispering returned, eerie and urgent. "Help me, please." The voice was clearer now, resonating deep within my soul. I felt the overwhelming weight of despair, a yearning that sent shivers racing down my spine. And then there she was. A figure emerged from the shadows, an ethereal woman draped in tattered clothing, her face a mixture of sorrow and something indescribable. Her features were blurred, but her longing stare pierced through me as if she were begging for release. "Help me," she implored again, the wail of desperation sending waves of compassion coursing through me. "I am lost." In a moment of awe and horror, I realized we were not merely observers of this haunting, we had become part of her story. "Who are you?" Jake shouted, his voice mixing determination and fear. "I am Eliza," she cried, her form flickering like a candle in a breeze. "I was betrayed, left to die within these walls." Her eyes bore into mine, heavy with grief. I knew there were deeper scars etched in her spirit, and her plight weighed upon me like lead. Suddenly, the world around us shifted, and shadows danced on the walls as if mocking her. The walls whispered secrets long forgotten, while the air filled with a cacophony of cries. We were standing on the precipice of something far more sinister than we had anticipated. "We need to help her find peace," I whispered to the group, our eyes locking in silent agreement. "How?" Sarah replied, her voice shaking. "By acknowledging her pain and understanding what happened," I urged. Eliza's form shimmered, her voice a mere echo of despair. "You must break the cycle. A hidden treasure lies within these walls. It holds my story, my truth. Only then will I rest." With one final desperate plea, she faded back into the shadows. The weight of her sorrow lingered, pressing down on us as we stood in stunned silence. We agreed to search for whatever this hidden treasure was, something that could finally free her spirit. Fueled by our newfound purpose, we combed through the castle, driven by the need to uncover her truth, that we found ourselves sifting through dusty rooms, peering into dark corners, and rifling through old trunks, until we stumbled into a forgotten cellar that had lain undisturbed for decades. As we descended the narrow staircase, the air thickened around us. My flashlight flickered ominously as we reached the bottom, revealing rows of decaying barrels, lined against the walls. In the dim light, there was an ancient wooden box perched on a stone pedestal in the center of the room. "This must be it," Jake exclaimed, his heart racing with excitement. With cautious awe, we approached the box, its surface intricate with carvings depicting the castle's history. When Jake carefully lifted the lid, a dusty parchment lay nestled inside. As he unearthed it, an ancient spell emerged, detailing Eliza's tragic fate, a tale of betrayal, deceit, and long-lost treasure hidden near the castle, meant to be shared with the world. "This is it?" I whispered, mesmerized as I read the words that could unlock her past. But as I shared the details aloud, a chilling gust of wind swept through the cellar, sending shivers racing down my spine. Shadows swirled around us, wrapping tighter as if trying to push us away. The whispers returned, a cacophony of anguish and despair echoing all around. "Leave now," a voice growled, deep and menacing, as the shadows enveloped us. My heart dropped as I realized the darkness was fighting against us, angry that we had begun to unveil secrets that had long been buried. "We can't let fear govern our actions," Jake shouted, his voice strong amidst the growing chaos. "We need to finish this for Eliza." With an outpouring of adrenaline, I clutched the parchment tight, and with determined steps, we raced back up the stairs. The shadows lunged at us, pulling us backward, but we pressed on, driven by Eliza's spirit who urged us toward the truth. Emerging from the cellar, we burst into the main hall, fighting back against the darkness that clung desperately to us. I could feel its breath growing cold against my neck, but something within urged me forward. "What do we do with the parchment?" Sarah shouted, glancing at Jake desperately. "Read it aloud," he exclaimed. "We must honor her story." Without hesitation, I gathered my breath, holding the parchment firmly as I recited the words, written in flowing script. "To break the chains of sorrow, truth must be revealed. The lost treasure marks the path. Let the tale be healed." As I spoke, an unforeseen energy enveloped us. An explosion of light burst through the castle, momentarily blinding us. Suddenly, the shadows began to dissipate. A sense of weightlessness overtook the air as Eliza's spirit re-emerged among the luminous light. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice laced with gratitude. "You have freed me. My story shall be known." With that, her spirit shimmered brighter until it vanished into the air, leaving behind an undeniable warmth in our hearts. The castle resonated with a newfound light. We could hear the soft lull of laughter that mixed with the wind, an embrace of closure as hidden burdens lifted from our shoulders. We stood in the remnants of darkness, panting as dawn broke over the horizon, casting golden rays through the castle windows. I glanced at my friends, an unspoken bond connecting us in that moment. We had faced the darkness together and emerged stronger for it. With the light breaking through, we made our way to the courtyard. The air felt different, now lighter, clearer, and filled with possibility. "Let's share Eliza's story," I suggested, pulling out my camera. "This has to be documented." So there we stood, recounting the night and the journey we had undertaken. The castle, which had once felt ominous and daunting, now felt like a bridge between the past and the present, replete with stories waiting to be shared. In the weeks that followed, we committed ourselves to Eliza's story, researching her lineage and the hidden treasures that may have been lost. Together we pieced together the truths that had lain in darkness for so long, stories of love and betrayal interwoven in the deep history of Bran Castle. And as I sit here now, reflecting on that fateful night, I realize that the spirits of the past remain with us, waiting to tell their stories, bridging the gap between the living and the lost. If ever you find yourself wandering the shadowed hallways of a haunted castle, remember, the tales they tell may not just be stories. They may be the echoes of souls longing for peace.